Hello, everybody. Welcome back to day 3 of NinjaOne 8.0 week. We are celebrating the release of NinjaOne 8.0, as you can tell by the name, with each day this week having kind of smaller streams than what we're usually having. These are meant to be kind of quick solo peeks inside individual elements that are involved in 8.0 because there's a lot. We have grown. We have a big product team. We have multiple products that are included in NinjaOne now. There's a lot that gets packed into each release. And so the whole idea with this is let's dig into some of these individual elements a little bit more and make sure that everyone's aware of what's included. And so we've covered, hello, Karsten. We've covered, we covered Ninja Remote on Monday. Yesterday, we had Luke Whitelock, our Director of Product Management, who's here today. He joined us yesterday to talk about some updates to documentation, the new device tags feature. And today, he's rejoining us to talk all about NinjaOne PSA, which we've gotten a lot of questions about. So, Luke, thanks for doing this. And I know there's lots of folks who are excited specifically for this one.
Awesome. Glad to be here again.
Yeah, before we get started and go into sharing your screen and taking a tour of what's new, I think I still get people mentioning in our Discord and other places that, wait, NinjaOne has a PSA? I mean, this is all relatively new, and it's something that's been in the works for a while, but want to provide a little bit of context about what we're doing there and set expectations and give people kind of an idea of what the vision is?
Sure. So as Jonathan said, we've been working on PSA for a little while now. What really our first version of it's focused on is layering on top of the rest of the Ninja platform to add a billing layer to let you raise your invoices, charge your customers, calculate your time that's been spent on them, do that kind of thing. We're starting off trying to apply the Ninja philosophy to PSA, which is keep it super simple. So we're never going to be a PSA with 1,000 settings. We're trying to go for the low complexity. You can start with us, use us. As your needs grow, you can then move over to someone like Halo in the future. So we're just keeping it simple to start with, and we'll grow it over time based on feedback.
Awesome. The Ninja way. Okay, well, great. Well, let's dive into it. And please, everybody who is watching this, this is just like we've done in the past. Please feel free to jump in, ask questions. Luke I'll be happy to interrupt him and ask him to clarify anything that he's showing you. And then afterwards, we're going to save some time for additional questions, feedback, requests, anything related to product roadmap and things like that. So definitely take advantage of the time. But with that, Luke, please take it away.
Cool. So starting out, PSA, it's in early access now. So it's still in beta. It just means if you want to use it, you need to reach out to your account manager. They can get it turned on for you. In addition to that, we've got a few other requirements. So right now, you need to have QuickBooks Online. We're working on a zero integration and a public API, but as it's still beta, it's not there yet. So for today, you need QuickBooks Online. The reason we've got that requirement is because we're relying on QuickBooks to do things like generating invoice numbers, generating your tax, and then actually sending out the invoices to your customers. The plan in the future will be to bring this stuff into Ninja PSA, but we're just using QuickBooks to get a shortcut to get something out in the market quicker than we would otherwise. The other requirements we've got right now is you need to be billing your customers in one of United States dollars, Great British pounds, euros, or Canadian dollars. We're going to be adding Australian dollars support in 9.0, which will come out at the end of Q2. But for now, we only support those currencies, and we don't support multi-currency, so it's only one currency you'll be able to bill in. As I said, we're just aiming to be a simple PSA for the time being. So not doing multi-currency stuff. So cracking on from that, let's start talking about actual PSA. So once it's enabled, you can come into apps and you'll find a new PSA icon or an app tile here. If you click into here, when you first log in, you'll only see the integrations tab, after you enable it, the only thing you'll see is the integrations tab and the getting started tab. In integrations, you'll just come in here and just connect to QuickBooks. Just need to use an admin account and authorize the app when you do the connection. So once you're connected, if you come in, you can start to map your Ninja organizations to QuickBooks customers. We have an auto map option, which is just going to look and find any organization names that match customer names inside QuickBooks. We do the same for account codes, so we can map the product types in Ninja to account codes inside QuickBooks. And then items as well. Once you make your products in Ninja, you can map those to specific items in QuickBooks Online. Regarding the mapping, when you're doing the mapping, it's only read-only to QuickBooks. The only time you touch QuickBooks and make any changes is when you choose to synchronize an invoice. Up until then, we don't make any changes to QuickBooks at the moment. If we don't have a match, what we try and do when we sync something is we'll try and do that match on name again. If it still doesn't match on anything, we'll go and create something with the settings provided. So for accounts, we'll just use these account codes to create those, or we'll create new account codes. And then items of that type, we'll just use that account code for now. You can always, once it's synchronized, go into QuickBooks and override it to use your own accounts. But yeah, we're just keeping it simple now. We're also going to add the ability to import things, but for now we don't have that either. So you just have to manually create things in Ninja and then match them up. So once you've got QuickBooks all up and running, the first part that you want to do is come into General and configure your settings here. So we've got a few different ones. The first ones is picking your currency. Like I mentioned, we've got 4 that we support today. And then the other setting here is configuring what your default amount of due days is for invoices. We're going to calculate the due dates before we send things over to QuickBooks. So here's just one. If you don't want to have to set it again and again, you can just put in your default one of like 2 weeks or 30 days or whatever you use here, and that will inherit down. The other options we've got here is to start doing some customization for your time entries. So we're taking time entries you log in ticketing, and we'll format them using this template to get the description before we send them over to QuickBooks. So it works similarly to how we've got the like email automations and ticketing, where you can copy these placeholders. You then just put them in here as you want with any other text you'd like in there. And that will give you your line items for the time entries that are going to sync over. So you can choose if you want to show the comment, if you just want to show the like time it was, the ticket number, the ticket subject, really up to you how much detail you want to transfer over for each one. We offer one for public entries and one for private. So you can do show the comment for public, don't show a comment for private, whatever you want there. Cool. So yeah, so there's the like high level settings we've got. As I said, we want to be, when we put in any setting, we're asking ourselves 100 times, do we actually need it? We want to try and keep this as simple as possible to set up. That's one of our main goals with PSA. So next thing, once you've got your general settings set up, you want to come in and start to configure your actual PSA products. So these are the things which are going to be your line items that you actually bill your customers with. In here, we've got a few different types. So we've got a custom type where you can just put in, use it as a bucket for anything which doesn't match on anything else. Hardware types, when you're selling like laptops, like anything else like that. Managed devices is where we start to do some automation. So this is going to let you use roles or use device search groups in Ninja to really start targeting anything you want on a device side. So you can just say account of this type of device, or you can say account of devices which have this specific bit of software installed, and really go into some fine-grained billing if you wanted with that. Labor build is going to let you track things like project costs. So if you're just doing like a fixed fee for doing some work, you can track it under that. And labor ticket time entries are the other ones that we've got automated today. So these are going to take any time entries you're logging in ticketing, figure out based on technician role what the product should be, and then go and charge those at the correct rate to your customers. Product groups lets you group together some of the non-automated ones. We're going to look at some ways to improve this. It's a little bit simple right now. But yeah, for now, it's just letting you group the non-automated ones. Software is billing software like 365 licenses, and users as if you want to bill per user. Right now, that's not automated, but it's something we're working on. Cool. So let me go and show you how we could do a managed devices one. So if we come in here, want to put in a name, we then want to put in a description. Every single product will have these same settings under general and billing. So in here, your price is what you want to charge your customer, and your cost is what you then want to charge, what it costs you. So it'll be any licenses you're doing, depending if you're bundling it. It could just be a single software license, or it could be the sum of all the licenses you're charging as your like single line item if you bill that way. If we come on under advanced, is where you can start configuring the oh, actually, let me talk about one other thing here. We've got this billable setting. So under billing for all products, we have 3 different options. So we've got billable, which means charge it normally, put it on the invoice, make sure your customers like works as you'd expect an item to do. Not billable, it's then going to let you not charge for something. It's if you're doing like some admin work, something you don't want to expose to your customer, you can mark things as not billable. But if you still want to track their costs, you then could have it on their agreement to say, well, we're paying for this license. I don't want to charge to the customer, but I do want to track it on their agreement so we know how much profit we're making. And no charge is when you want to show your customer you've done some work, but you want to charge it at 0 cost to them. So this could be if you're doing a managed services agreement, you might put all your time entries and work you've done on your invoice just with a 0 cost, just so people know how that works. Cool. So yeah, so coming back to this, move on to the advanced settings, which is where for those automated ones, you can start to configure things. So right now, I'd recommend you probably use all roles and then use groups to filter down to the exact information you want. So here we could say, I think I've made one earlier. So yeah, I've got a manage developer devices group that I've saved. We can add in multiple groups here and then say any group or all groups. So you can say a device will match on devices which are in any of the groups listed, or a device has been all the groups listed to increment that quantity. I'll just cancel that one. So the other type I'll show you now is the labor ticket time entries. So this is where you can start billing your time from ticketing. If you bill like either via like a break fix model or an ad hoc billing, or if you want to bill anything which is excluded from your managed services agreement, this is where this really comes in. You want to track your time even if you are doing everything included, so you can make sure you're profitable on your customers. That's something we'll be introducing later this year, some profitability reports to really be able to drill in and see where am I making money, where am I losing money. So I'll just add one in here. So in this one, you'll notice we've got this application user roles here. So this is how time entries are going to match. You can pick your technician roles. I'll show you how we figure out the rules and how it'll pick, like the order it'll pick them in, but you're essentially mapping products to technician roles today. One other one you notice here is we've got system automation as an option. This is for the ticket automation conditions. You'll notice when there's, if you look at the automation conditions for in ticketing itself, there's an option to log some time on reset. So it's like the 15 minutes when you have a script which automatically resolves a problem. That's where you can use automation. So you can choose to just show that you fix things there and do it as a no charge item, or you could charge them like a one-off cost if you've got an automation that fixes something, depending on how you want it to bill. So in here, we'd say we want this one just to be for junior technicians, so we can leave it as that. If we go to billing, we've got a few more settings in here. So your price is your standard price that you want to charge. So let's say 150. A cost, let's say it's about 70, let's say 50. Leave that taxable. Billing, we've got those billable settings, so we'll leave that all billable. We've then got some other options here for time products, which is going to take, when you log a time entries, you've got the ability to mark it as on-site or off-site. So that's going to be your on-site or remote multiplier. Then at the agreement level, you can choose to inherit the ticket business hours or configure custom business hours per agreement, which will let you then bill automatically in hours and out of hours. So let's say for on-site, we want to charge time and a half. For remote, we'll charge standard time. For normal hours, we'll charge standard time. And for out of time, we'll charge 1.5. And then the last options you've got around the time entries are going to be rounding intervals. So you can pick if you want to bill in 5-minute increments, 10 minutes, 15, 20, 25, 30, an hour or a day. So this will just automatically round up whenever you're tracking time, to take into that like the admin time that technicians spend between every task of like switching between things, documenting things, updating things which might not necessarily fall into the like actual time. Just letting you doing the rounding there. Cool. So next stage, once you've built up all your products, like the actual things you want to charge your customers, we can start making some agreements. So what we've got the option to do here is build up your templates first. So this is where you can build up your general things, like your general mapping rules, the general products you sell people based on your plan. So you could have like a gold plan, a silver plan, a bronze plan. Use these as your core. You then copy these into a specific organization, and that will be that active agreement. You can then go in and customize it, override prices, change things around at that level. This is just a way you can quickly roll things out to your customers if you need to. So if we have a look in this managed services one, We've got a few settings here. So first one is we've got where we're going to get the supported hours from. So like I was mentioning, this is the in hours, out of hours option. So in here, you can say inherit from ticketing, or we can build up some custom ones just for this customer to override it. As we roll out SLAs, this will be one of the places where you can set the supported hours for those SLAs. So if you move on to the next section, we've got some options of how often you want to bill. So you can do manual only ones, annual, quarterly, weekly, one-time agreements configured from here. Picking the day of the month you want invoices to generate automatically. So when you've got an option to either generate them manually or to generate them automatically. Automatically here, it's picking the date when you want to actually have those invoices generated. We'll just put every invoice we generate, we goes into a pending state, so you can still review it before you then actually end up sending it over. If you pick the last day of the month, it'll always just take the last day of the month, whichever it is, or any of the days where there might not end up being in the actual month. And then your invoice due days, you can say to inherit from PSA or set it yourself here of how long you want it to be. On the product side, this is where we can start to build up like your actual matching rules for things. So for time entries, you're going to, every time you log a time entry on a ticket, which is associated to this agreement, it's going to start from the top and work down to the bottom. So for our managed services one, we want to do everything by default, we'll include it, but we want to add on that excluded one as well, just so we've got an option to use it if we want. That one gets grayed out because we've got a match all here, so it means this would never be reached automatically, but you might still want to have it on there for being able to bill at different rates if you needed to. Devices, we've got two different options here. So by default, it's going to work in the same way that the time entries do. Every device is going to come through here as it's generating an invoice, and it will stop on the first one it matches on. So if it matches a developer device, it will increment that by one, and then it will stop looking at any of the others. The other option here, so this is when you want to bill like a bundled rate per device. You don't want to do individual line items for them. The other option here we've got is matched all, which is where if you want to bill an unbundled price, so you do fine grained billing where you say like for the base device, we charge this much, then we charge you for this AV, we charge you for huntress, we charge you for et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anything you add in. So again, these can just be reordered by dragging and dropping. And match all just means if it matches the configuration for these, it will just increment the count by one. Other is then all the other items we've got today, which haven't yet been automated. In here, you just need to come in and update the quantities manually for now. The goal is to try and automate as much as we possibly can and link in all the different areas of Ninja. So yeah, over time, there'll be far less things that you need to do manually here. Cool. So yeah, so once you build up your templates, you can come in and you can actually choose to copy as a new agreement and pick which organization you want the agreement to go into. So if we go look in here, I've already made an agreement for one. So oh yeah, when you copy an agreement into or make the first agreement in a customer, it's going to prompt you, do you want to make this your default one? Do you want to update any of the existing time tickets to use this agreement? So to bill anything, a ticket has to be associated to an agreement. So you can manually come in and update these under the time entries option here. You can do a bulk update as well, or under tickets under an organization. So this default one now means that whenever you log a new ticket for this organization, it's going to assign this agreement to that ticket and bill any of the items on it. If we come in here and edit this, you'll notice there's a few more options here. So we've added the ability to do an invoice note. So in here, you can configure anything that you want to come in for this customer. It could be a reference number at their side. It could be some specific information. It could be a payment link or something you want to add in. Leaving an agreement end date blank just means the agreement will carry on forever. Once it hits the agreement end date, it's going to stop like processing more invoices for that agreement once it's raised the last one. Support hours, again, is just the overriding of it. Email settings are going to let you configure where you want the emails to go to. With QuickBooks Online, there's not an easy way for us to set that on the invoice. It doesn't inherit from the organization. So we just give people the option to configure email addresses in here. In the future, once we add the ability to send out straight from Ninja, this will also then feed into that. Billing, you'll notice once it's actually in an organization, we give you an extra couple of options here. So the generation type is then if you want it automatic or manual. So it just means automatically on the first of the month, it's going to raise those invoices. Next bill date is then the next first of the month where you want it to bill. So you only be able to pick a first of a month, but you can then offset like not starting billing someone for a couple of months if you wanted to. And then, oops, let me go back to May. Then the next billing period start date is letting you say, what range of dates am I actually billing for on this next invoice? So this is going to take the interval you've configured up here and add it onto the date that you pick here. So this just lets you configure, like, am I billing in arrears? Am I billing a month in advance? Am I billing for the current month? Am I billing 2 months in advance? And really get that fine-grained control of exactly, not just I raised an invoice, but it's also letting you know the what have I billed for the date range on this invoice. Just giving you like ultimate control of exactly saying this is what we're actually billing our customers for. This is going to feed into doing things like proration in the future. So we just made sure we got that in early. The last few settings that we got at the actual organization agreement level are letting you pick your tax code that you want from QuickBooks. And this is going to go read all the ones out. So you can go and select whichever one you want. And then if you want to allow card payments or ACH payments on the QuickBooks side, that's something we have to pass through. So we're tracking it here. All those products will have inherited from whatever the template was that you deployed. And you can come in and customize them. You can override a price or the description at the agreement level here and just do per customer ones there. Cool. So now you've got your agreement made for a customer. Let me just check my list and see that I'm not missed anything. Cool. Yep. So now you've got an agreement made at a customer. If you come in here, we can preview the invoice. So if you've got a manual one, this is where you come in, check what it looks like first, and you can choose to create an invoice. What we want to do is let's go and track some time against this invoice. So if we go into ticketing and make a new ticket. I'll just call this test. And you'll notice you've now got this agreement option here. So here you can come in and override it. So if you're doing a project work, you could just assign tickets for a project to a project agreement, or you can put it against your standard managed services one, depending on how you want to bill. Logging time, if you come here and do edit time, you'll notice this is where we've got some more settings. So you can manually set minutes, set hours, override it if it should be billable, or set that on-site or off-site. If we apply that and then track some time. So on this agreement, we should now have that time. We've got something tracked. So if we go back to the organization and we come into this agreement, oh, actually, we probably won't get anything because it's no charge. Let me just preview here and see if we get anything. Oh, no, we do have it because it's, yeah, no charge. So we want to show it. So here it's used that template to generate the description, put in the details, calculate the cost. This is a no charge one. So what we can now do is choose to create this. And we're going to go create an invoice. Today, whenever you generate an invoice from an agreement, it's going to take anything that hasn't been billed on any ticket in any state for that agreement and add it to the invoice. So that ticket's still open, but we charge the time entries now. Coming in 9.0, we've got the ability to filter by ticket status. So you'll be able to have far more fine-grained control, doing things like saying only bill tickets in a closed billable rate or something like that. So for the QuickBooks tax engine to pull, if you leave that as none, it will just use QuickBooks' own tax engine to generate things. So it's only if you wanted to override it here. So if you leave it as none, that's going to use QuickBooks automatic engine to figure out what the tax rate should be for that specific customer. So as long as you've got their address set correctly, that should do all the work for you. I've got it connected to a UK one at the moment, which is why that's a little bit different. So yeah, so the other side of things we've got is on the left, we've got some high level things where you can see all agreements across all customers and also all time entries. So if I go and make another time entry very quickly. Publish that one. So you see in here, we should now have that time entry listed. Yep. So if we hover over it, we'll be able to see what the exact time entry was for this comment. We can also do things such as manually reassign it to a different product if we wanted to, or override its agreement. So here we could say use that excluded one and actually bill the customer for it. We can also do recalculate price. So if you go into an agreement, update the prices, update the mapping rules, you can come in here and then choose which of the time entries you want to actually rerun through that engine and recalculate the price on. once invoices are generated, they'll end up in here under pending. You can come in here, you can preview them, see any of the like items on them, and we've also got the ability to come in here and edit them, so you can override things, add things manually, and just make any last minute changes that you need. Once they're done, you can come in and approve them. You can also choose to archive them if it's not something you wanted to use. So if we approve that one, once things are approved, they'll then sit in this bucket. This is the final stage before we're going to touch QuickBooks Online. What we do here is when you click send, we're sending it to QuickBooks. We're not sending it out to the customer. It just needs to go over to just goes over to QuickBooks, where you can then send it out to your customer from there. So if we do send, it will then should take a couple of seconds, go into exporting, and then fingers crossed it will go to complete in a minute. What we should do, this is a testing environment, so I don't think I've got everything set up right. But in here, we'll calculate the tax at the QuickBooks side, bring it back. We should grab the invoice number, but I don't think I've got automatic invoice numbering set up in QuickBooks. And you can also then just come in here and clean these up and archive them as well. So that is where we are at today with our PSA. Let me have a check of the questions.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Luke. So, I mean, a lot of folks, understandably, they're here, they're interested. That initial restriction of QuickBooks is a blocker for folks, understandably so. And so there's the question of, are there plans to extend that beyond? I have to imagine the answer is yes, but can you provide any other details, though?
Yep. So the plan is shortly we're going to start work on a Xero integration. So right now our goals are to support QuickBooks Online and Xero by the time we go GA, hopefully about the end of the year. We also want to have a public API and the ability to do like exports. So it's likely we're just going to start with QuickBooks and Xero. We'll see if there's enough demand for other things, but the goal will be really having a public API where people can just do what they want with it, or have CSV exports where they can, again, just import it into something else that they want.
Yeah, I'm curious. Well, thank you for that. And I'm curious for folks here watching, if that does that sound good to you, the API access, or is there some other tools specifically that you're looking for integration with? This one wasn't brought up in the chat, but I'm kind of curious about it too. Obviously, what's exciting about this is it's building on top of a ton of the work that you've been doing with ticketing, documentation. The fact that this is being built within Ninja, I imagine, has advantages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are there plans for some of these things to be for other ticketing systems to be able to be integrated in?
So for us, no, like we're only going to ever support Ninja ticketing with this because it's such a deep integration we need. It's just going to be a nightmare to try and do it for other ticket systems. So it's only going to ever support Ninja ticketing, but the goal is to evolve Ninja ticketing as we go over time. So some things we've got planned for the rest of this year is these are in progress ones we've actually just finished last week. So doing that product, when you're entering a time entry, you're going to be able to pick a specific product, do an override, say like this is out of hours, this is in hours, this is billable, non-billable. Just pick a specific product while you log it with permission controls over which text can pick which ones. Doing the status filtering on when we actually invoice tickets and doing Australian dollar support. Then the goal by the end of the year is to introduce automated end user billing. So being able to pull end users based on role, do the user counts off of that, do NinjaOne backup billing, so being able to bill our backup product, taking like the used storage counts. You can build the like per device today, just using the manage devices option, but being able to drill into like the storage used and things like that. Introducing block time billing, so being able to say how much time should be included in a contract. So like every month you get 3 hours included, or you buy a block of 3 hours and then we have to renew that. Doing the profitability reports, so making sure you can understand like, am I losing money on a customer with the amount of time we're spending supporting them, not just on like how much the products and things you sell to them cost. Then do that Xero integration I mentioned and add a public API.
Gotcha. Thanks. And then Andrew had a couple questions here. And you have to forgive me, but all other payment platforms, is that the same? This is my ignorance here. Is that the same? Are we talking about billing and payment platforms being the same thing, or is that something else?
So this is the process of like actually collecting your payments. We're still trying to figure out exactly what we do, but a big goal of the public API is to allow people like alternative payments to integrate with us. I've actually been chatting to the guys there, so I've got their list of what they need from an API. So I'll make sure that's covered when we get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think this goes to also the point of building the functionality here in like the stage where we're at with PSA. I mean, one thing that I always stress, I think is very refreshing and very cool about the way you guys approach building things here at Ninja. There's that the PSA is officially in early access. I want to make sure that we cover how people can check it out. You mentioned reaching out to their account managers. It can be turned on. No one's asked about it yet, but in terms of pricing, I believe that the same type of kind of offer going with documentation applies to this as well. I mean, these are kind of early in adoption periods, and we want to encourage people to come in, check them out, and give us feedback so you guys can develop things and build on it the right way. And so I know that there's 3 technicians free is the thing. This is available for anyone with those 3 technician roles, and then beyond that, I believe that there's some pricing that encourages folks to check it out, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, check with your account managers. They can give exact pricing, but the plan is during the like early access period, at least, any users will be free, like at that point when we go GA, rather than just the 3 free. But yeah, the goal is to have 3 free forever and then have some competitive pricing around it.
Awesome. And if I'm imagining that a lot of the folks here watching, you heard about this through the Discord. If you are not a member, you should join. We'll toss up a QR code where you can do that. But if you are and you are not in the PSA folder yet, you should check that out. And that's Luke is definitely lurking around in there. And it is where you can see some updates. You can see some other early testers and users asking questions, sharing information. And I'm sure Luke would be happy to have you all in there. Is there any kind of requests along those lines, Luke, that you'd like to give people?
No, I mean, just we want to hear feedback from people. Like, what are we missing for you to be able to use it? Just let us know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, cool. It's under the betas and shiny things. NinjaOne PSA channel. You should be able to find it there. If you have any problems, just let me know. So Andrew asked a long-term roadmap, but then there's specifically another question I want to make sure we did not miss. And this is about tax. Let's see. So he's mentioning that in Minnesota, not only is there a state tax, various city and county taxes are all different, which sounds like a nightmare. Yeah.
So yeah, so for that one, like you just set the tax code to none, and it uses QuickBooks own engine to calculate it all. So we're relying on QuickBooks for all of that.
Cool. Okay, great. And then, okay, so thank you, Andrew, for asking all these questions, by the way. Long-term roadmap. So we have what you're showing here. Of course, this raises all sorts of things this would be awesome. What about this? What about this? So any things that you're seeing Andrew list out here that you'd want to comment on?
So yeah, so I mean, PSA, like we're focused on really being a billing layer at the moment, but the whole point of Ninja being a single platform is you'll be able to leverage everything that we do in Ninja. I can't comment on anything in particular at the moment, but that's definitely the direction we want to go in, is the kind of questions you're asking there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, well, here's one thing we got, he has the follow-up thing of, or is the plan, not a plan for this PSA with that do automations? I mean, I think our plan is to leverage what makes Ninja powerful, right? Into anything that we're building on top of Ninja. Is that fair to say?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
And here we go. Dojo, thanks Carson for seeing this. Luke, can you confirm or deny that this is the case?
Currently, it doesn't only work for the US. You can use it anywhere that you've got QuickBooks Online, that you can bill in pounds, euros, or Canadian dollars as well.
Right, with Australia to come in 9.0.
Yeah.
Right? Awesome. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Carson, for pointing that out. And Robert, you're totally right. We got to update that dojo. So I'm making a note here. Any other questions while we have Luke captive? And any other things that you wanted to bring up at all, Luke?
No, just, yeah. Be happy to hear from anyone who's got any feedback on what they want to see.
Awesome. Great. Well, then I think with that, we will call this one a wrap. And Luke, that means you're off the hook for at least a little while.
Yeah, so I got another PSA webinar at the end of the month.
Well,
So
there you go.
2 weeks at least.
Yeah, for everybody who joined, thank you so much for taking time again. We are going to be back again for day 4 of 8.0 week. And I believe the time may be a little bit different. You can always check out in the Discord under events. All these things are going to be listed, so you can get a little bit more than a heads up than the 5 or 10 minutes I give you by pinging in announcements. Tomorrow at noon, we are going to be looking at updates around patching and vulnerability management. And so we're going to have Greg Thomas and Chris Williams, our PMs, joining us for that. Some cool things to talk about there. And then on Friday, we're going to be wrapping it up with updates to backup. So we'll have Dan Myers, our backup product manager. Okay, so Evan has one last question before we let you go, Luke. Can you let us think of end users from Intra? And
we support that today. You just need to configure SCIM, so SCIM. Then you can just automatically create the users from there.
Cool. And maybe that's something too, like, I don't know if that's officially documented or anything, but you can always...
Yeah, if you search for SCIM in the dojo, it'll definitely come up. There's documents on how to do it all. Yeah,
absolutely. Great. Well, thanks for that. Okay, everybody, thank you. And make sure to check us out later in the week. And then, as Luke mentioned, we have a webinar where we're going to be revisiting some of these things that he covered and maybe even go into more detail towards the end of the month. So always more webinars, more streams on the horizon. But until then, have a great Wednesday, everybody. And Luke, thanks again for joining.
Thank you.
All right, take care.